Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Digging Deeper moment number 179. The purpose of our Digging Deeper moments is to take God's Word to God's world, and we are so glad that you've joined us. If you would, please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks. We've been looking at what the Bible has to say about being human. So far, we've looked at the beginning of Genesis 1:26, which says that God said, "Let us make man in our own image, according to our own likeness." And we've seen that this means that human beings were made by God and God alone, that we are God's royal family, and that we are His representatives on the earth. That is, we have a special relationship with God because we are sons and daughters, and being sons and daughters, we rule creation for Him. This is why Genesis 1:26 continues by saying, "Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." The Hebrew is actually stronger and clearer than the English translation. Hebrew grammarians agree that the way this is written marks purpose or result. So the Hebrew literally says, "Let us make man so that they may rule." God made us family so that we could rule for Him. That was His purpose and His intention. But take note that in Genesis 26, it uses the word them. Let them have dominion. Who's the them? Now this is answered in the next two verses, Genesis 1:27 and 1:28. Verse 27 says, "So God created man in His own image. The image of God He created him. Male and female He created them." Verse 28, "Then God blessed them," there's that them again, "and said to them a third time, 'Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth.'" And by the way, I forgot the fish in the sea. Have dominion over all those dudes. Now, the way these two verses are written reveals a lot. First of all, verse 27 contains three clauses, a clause like a miniature sentence. The first follows a normal word order found in a Hebrew clause or sentence. It's verb, subject, object. So God created man in His own image. Now in Hebrew, the first word of the sentence is actually the verb create, which is the Hebrew word bara. This is how Hebrew likes to start its sentences. It likes to start with the verb because by doing so, they stress the action of the verb. So the first clause in this verse stresses the fact that God created mankind. Now, the next two clauses are different. They don't start with verbs. And I know this is a little technical, but it's very important. The second clause actually starts with a noun, "in the image of God." The third clause begins with the adjectives male and female. And as Captain Kirk of the USS Enterprise would put it, "What does this mean, Spock?" We need to figure out what this means because this is very important. Because what it means is that the second and third clauses are parentheticals. They are footnotes. You know, you read in a book, you read something that puts a little number down at the bottom of the page, you have a footnote. That's what these are. Because the author is digressing from the narrative of what he's been saying to give additional and important information. And so the structure of Genesis 1:27 looks like this, and Jonathan's going to have it on the screen for you. So God created man in His own image. Footnote, in the image or bullet point, in the image of God He created him, bullet point, male and female He created them. Now by writing it this way, the author is stressing two important things about human beings. First of all, humanity resembles God in some way, and we looked at this in our last couple Digging Deeper moments. The second thing that this is stressing is that human sexuality is binary and entails the two distinct genders of male and female. This structure is telling us that the reason God made human beings male and female was so that they could fulfill the dominion mandate found in verses 26 and 28. By being fruitful and multiplying, we have dominion over the earth, and we can't be fruitful and multiply without being male and female. That's why Genesis 1:26 says, "Then God said, 'Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion.'" The them is the male and female, which would lead to everybody else that's born. Then in verse 27, in true Hebraic fashion, it restates what has already been said, but adds the detail about the binary nature of gender, male and female. And then in verse 28, it repeats again, because this is really a chiasmus outline. It starts, it says, and then it ends where it began. It repeats the dominion mandate and clarifies why God made us male and female. Then God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." By being fruitful, by increasing, and by filling the earth, we as human beings will bring it under subjection. We will subdue it and have dominion over the planet. Now, this speaks directly to several contemporary issues that are being argued about today. First, the gender argument, climate change argument, and even evolution, just to name a three. And believe it or not, all three of these contemporary issues revolve around what it means to be human. A lot of church people don't want to get engaged in these debates, stating that they're kind of ancillary to the gospel, but that's not really true. In actuality, these issues that we are debating and confronting today are front and center to what the gospel has to say because they impact what it means to be human and the purpose for which God created us. This is because, as I've stated before in other Digging Deeper moments, origins are a part of our worldview. What we believe about where we came from heavily influences who we believe we are as human beings, who we are as male and females, and who we are in relation to the planet and our climate, and who we are in relationship to those who came before us. This series, however, is not about those things, but I would be remiss if I didn't show you the connection, because the debates we are having in our culture about these issues and many others today are really spiritual issues, and they go to the core of who we think we are as human beings and what our place is in this world. But there's something else that Being Male and Female reveal, and we'll look at that next week. If this lesson helped you, please share it with a friend, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or check out our Sunday morning live podcast on either Apple or Spotify. And if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please remember to do that. It will help us greatly. Thanks. Hope to see you next week.